Hello students, I hope you are doing well and you are simultaneously studying your lessons and the virtual classes are clear to you. If you remember in the previous video, which was an introduction to the fourth chapter, that is India's external relations, we had discussed that what all we'll be going through in the coming slides. To just a kind of a revising note, on a revising note, I'll be telling you that India had already engulfed into the world, you can say, situation, and that was the division of the countries of the world into two power blocks. But India chose to remain neutral and then to strengthen its foreign policy and its relations with its neighboring countries. Coming on to our first slide, we'll see that what and which articles in the Constitution maintained or stated to maintain international peace and security internally and externally too. If you remember in the last year's political science book, then you must have studied a lot about the Indian Constitution. Ours is one of the lengthiest constitutions in the world, and to make it more special, there is a lot of flexibility in the constitution. That is, the constitution makers, the framers of the constitution were visionaries. They could vision that with the coming changing times, there will be a possibility that we need to alter, we need to change our constitution. But not going deep into the alterations of it, we will see that which article provides international peace and security with the countries of the world. Coming on to our first slide, the constitutional principles, Article 51 of the Indian Constitution lays down some directive principles of the state policy, and that is promotion of international peace and security. The state shall endeavour to promote international peace and security, maintain just and honourable relations between nations, because it's very important to respect other nations in order to maintain any kind of business contacts with them. Foster respect for international law and treaty obligations. Then in dealing the organized people with one another, and the next one, to encourage settlement of international disputes by arbitration. So whether it is in context with any treaty, whether it is in context with any of the other business type relations, it was maintained that all what we need to do is to maintain peace and security. Moving on to our next slide, policy of non-alignment. The country chose to remain or to adhere to the policy of non-alignment. What it was, we will see. The Indian national movement was not an isolated process. This you know, that the national struggle was a struggle of the masses. It was not just a one-man struggle, but Mahatma Gandhi emerged to be a champion for the cause, and all the people of the nation joined him with volunteership. It was a part of the worldwide struggle against colonialism and imperialism. Influenced by our countries, let me tell you that influenced and encouraged by our country, there were many other nations which wanted to gain freedom from the clutches of the colonial power, and they wanted to emerge as new nations. It influenced the liberation movement of many Asian and African countries. Prior to India's independence, there were contacts between nationalist leaders and those of other colonies, united as they were in their common struggle against the colonialism and imperialism. The creation of Indian National Army, that is INA, by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose during the Second World War was the clearest manifestation of the linkages established between India and overseas Indians during the freedom struggle. So this is how this was like a backdrop to the Indian national struggle. Moving on to the next slide. The noble ideals that inspired India's struggle for freedom influenced of making its foreign policy. This period was marked by political, economic and military confrontation at the global level and between the two blocks that we had studied till now. So India's leadership had to pursue its national interest with the prevailing international context. So what situation was now framed, that India as a country, as a land of diverse cultures and religions and languages, had to look to its internal affairs. Along with that, it had to cope up the external you can say relations with other countries, maintaining peace and security internally and externally. So now we will see, moving on to the next slide, we will see how Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru influenced you can say the country's leadership and policies by his visionary ideals. The first Prime Minister to tell you that he was the you can say one of the Indian revolutionaries and one of the Indian lawyers and statesmen who had a very privileged position in the Indian context. Being the first Prime Minister, it was like his responsibility, his obligation to shoulder the people who were into you can say poverty and they were unemployed. So automatically he had to look into the internal problems and also to maintain a very strong foreign policy. He played a crucial role in setting the national agenda and he was our foreign minister. Thus, both as the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, he exercised a profound influence in the formulation and the implementation of India's foreign policy. The three major objectives of Nehru's foreign policy were to preserve the hard-earned sovereignty, that is, that we will not kneel down at any other superpower or any other external power, and we need to take our decisions on our own. The second one, to protect the territorial integrity and to promote rapid economic development. So economically, a nation needs to be strong in order to cope up internal affairs as well as to enter the global market. Nehru wished to achieve these objectives through the strategy of non-alignment. So till now we have studied that our country adopted the policy of non-alignment and Nehru played a vital part in promoting that policy among the people and to let them know that why it was essential for our country. There were of course parties and groups in the country that believed that India should be more friendly with the blocs led by US because that bloc claimed to be pro-democracy. You know, when you consider the superpowers, then you need to know that the other countries wanted our country to be more friendly, to be more close with any of the superpowers, US or USSR. Why? Because they were already powerful and at that time India was a developing nation. We lacked the economic resources, we lacked scientific temper, and above all we had less of, you can say, educational measures to promote our skills outside. So however, among these factors, we will see what happened next. Some political parties which were opposed to communism also wanted India to follow a pro-US foreign policy, and these included the Bharatiya Jana Sangh and later the Swatantrata Party. So if you remember, Bharatiya Jana Sangh was one of the you can say strong opposition parties at the time when Congress emerged as the only party in the country. So even such parties which were very strong in their opinion as a opposition party wanted India to remain friendly with the superpowers in order to have a better contact with them and in order to share information, to strengthen their scientific and technological aids and to maintain their progressive level. So in this video, we have studied that how Nehru's visionary, you can say, insight helped India to maintain the policy of non-alignment, and apart from that, India decided not to join any of the super blocs, any of the camps, and remain very clear-cut in its neutral policy. Apart from that, we even studied that how Article 51 of the Indian Constitution states to maintain international peace and security, and for that there was laid some directive principles of the state policy which we will be studying in the upcoming videos. So till then, stay safe, stay tuned.